Hello! La, la, la.
My mom and I stayed here years ago when I was just a little girl.
I forget what we were doing. Oh, yeah.
We just finished up. Hojo got BTFO by the Whispers, and we're in Eris's room.
Were we captured? I kind of forget if this follows the same as the original one.
No.
Okay.
Aaron,
Yes.
before we break out of here, talk to us. There's so much we don't know.
Do you want me to pop up the volume a little, or are you good?
Maybe like one or two.
Yep.
Just do it too. So this is the beginning of Chapter 17. Chapter 17 is like objectively the most brutal chapter in the game.
That's not their actual name.
Not only do we have to do the huge Hojo experiment room where you're like divided into two groups, but there's like 4 bosses, and all the bosses are hard. And I'm definitely not finishing because I have less than an hour. I mean, this chapter's the longest too. It would take 2 sit-downs regardless, but I might do a thing where, like, I make another save file with just all my MP back, just so I don't have to deal with it.
Shinra thinks it's true. They've been searching for the Promised Land for a long time.
And they must think you can lead them to it. Can you?
Yes.
So we just finished playing that garbage Oxide, well, not garbage, but very low budget Oxide game, and I gotta say, the voice acting in Oxide was way better than this.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Oxide Room 104? Nothing. Dude, this scene that we've watched so far has more budget than that entire
Oh, yeah.
Just this 3 minutes of scene is more budget.
No right to claim. But they'll try to take it anyway, won't they?
It's crazy how, I don't know, like, we're at the diminishing returns of graphics just because everything looks so good. But part 2, I'm like, how can they make it look better than this? This just looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, from the, there's a little bit of in-game footage that they showed off a couple months ago. It looks very similar. It looks like it's going to be about the same graphical quality, but, like, more open.
Oh, great. These assholes
I'm totally cool with that.
Because, like, the footage they showed is, like, Cloud and Sephiroth, you know, and the calm flashbacks going through, like, the forest area near Nibelheim, and it looks good. It looks way more open.
As we discussed before, it really just has to do with the fact that the PS4, it was a PS4 game. They developed it for the PS4, so it's...
Yeah,
there are downfalls to that.
The 2 biggest bottlenecks for the PS4 was definitely RAM and just disk read. Both the disk and like the hard drive. So it's like more like graphics RAM and system RAM means they can just have way bigger environments. And faster SSD means they can load environments way faster.
Seems like nowadays the biggest thing, if we're not talking high-end PCs, is just having SSDs. Especially with the way these games are made, like just to have no loading essentially. Yeah. That's the biggest part.
I switched, like, my laptop I got in like 2012. I switched to an SSD within like a month or 2. I never looked back. I can never use a computer with a regular hard disk drive ever again.
Well, there's an SSD on our computer here, yeah.
There's even an SSD in the new POS computer, because it's just so standard and cheap nowadays.
Yeah. I remember that they were like, you could go with a standard one. I was like, nope, SSD, please.
Yeah, even if it's like even if it's like 64 gigabytes, still do SSD.
Dude, our POS at the store loads in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
In fact, the same with this computer here.
The laptop we're using for the media PC as a SSD, it's just like hard disk drives still have their place because they're way cheaper for like high end or a lot of capacity, and they're still like fairly reliable, but not as a boot device.
Are SSDs generally reliable?
Yeah, they apparently have limited read-write cycles. You like loading a bunch of data on it and then deleting it. I think they have a limited lifespan that way, but I don't know. I've been using the same desktop like SSD
We'll find a
for
way.
like 5+ years. I don't notice any
Yeah.
Okay.
degradation.
Well, there's certain things that are fact, like in video games, like when people are like, oh, older systems, they can degrade, all that kind of stuff. But one thing, I swear to God, sorry, I'm still fighting off bronchitis. I have probably seen in my life 50,000 discs, and I have never once in my life seen disc rot.
I've literally never seen
In fact,
it
the
either.
only time I've ever seen anything close is a disc of mine that I had in like an old leaky car back in the day, and it was like a burned audio CD that was essentially out in the wild, right? And when it got wet and stuff like that, it got ruined. But for a disc that is well maintained, I have never seen disc rot.
Dude, even we get so many games in the store that are in like absolute crap condition, and even in those like cases, I never see disc
I'm not
rot.
saying that 100 years from now there won't be disc rot, but like, I've heard people be like, "Oh, I wanna collect, I don't know, Sega CD, but I'm worried about disc rot." I'm like, dude, I've literally never once in my life, like, the only time I've ever seen discs where they're like ruined the way that people think they are is literally burned audio CDs that are left in a car where it like leaks, right? That's like the only time I've ever seen that in my entire life. And like CDs have been around for like 35 years at this point,
Yes.
you know?
And I wonder, since Laserdiscs are pressed like an analog format instead of being digital, like they're pressed like way differently. I wonder if they are affected, but I have no idea.
We've had I'm not a Laserdisc
I've never
aficionado,
seen it either. No.
but we have some that we get in the store just for fun, and like we have a small section of them, and like I have also never seen disc rot on those. So there's things to worry about, but like as long as you keep your stuff in good condition, like I've never seen like, oh, my Nintendo game that I have just died for no reason. You know what I mean? Like I've never seen that. It's always because something was taken poor care of or whatever the case may be, you know?
Was it this way?
Hard drives, though, I could see after a period of time going, you know?
Yeah.
Regardless of how well they're taken.
Hard drives, especially in old classic PCs, like from the 80s or even the 70s, the old school hard disks that they used were like terrible, and those are more often than not dead. But it's mostly because of the mechanical like movement inside the hard disk more than anything.
Where did they go?
There's electronic things that go wrong with games. I can't tell you the last time I saw a Sega Game Gear system that didn't have all blown capacitors. So essentially when a Game Gear comes in, if it has a really dim screen or very low sound, it means the capacitors for those have gone. And almost every single one nowadays needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah, I've never seen a Game Gear that has like a working screen that hasn't been serviced recently.
Yeah. Sometimes original Game Boys are getting to that point as well, where you'll see the capacitors start to go. But again, we're talking about capacitors for something made 35 years ago, you know? But that's an electronic thing as well. I would consider capacitors to be more electronic than anything. We did it.
I've been playing a lot of God of War Ragnarok, like literally yesterday. So coming back to this game, I practiced this like for like 10 minutes this morning. I was like, because I practiced this part like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, maybe I should do this part again. I was up pretty early this morning, and I was like, played it for 10 minutes. I was like, whatever. But God of War is one of those weird games that, like, you do all the attacks with, like, R1 and R2. It's just so weird. So, like, using actual face buttons to do attacks takes a little bit to get used to again.
That's a bit weird. Boy! Get it? Remember when that was a thing?
Yeah, Atreus still sucks in Ragnarok. He's less annoying, but he's still annoying.
Let's go.
Well,
Although there's a part that you actually play as Atreus, like completely playable without Kratos, and playing as him is pretty fun. In fact, he might arguably be more fun than Kratos, but I guess we'll see.
yeah,
He's just so fast, and like having like a bow on you at all times is really fun.
I mean, isn't that a thing that people love in all sorts of media, like movies, TV shows, games, where like they have children in it, like child actors and stuff like that? Like that's the thing that people like, right?
Yeah, people will love it. Especially when the little kid is like annoying, and I mean, I get the story significance of Atreus. It's like he is a budding talent. He has like these ridiculous powers that he doesn't understand. Kratos doesn't understand, and like they keep evolving, and he gets more mature. But like, man, it's such a slow ride. Because at the end of the first God of War, Atreus is still like a little immature kid,
Genova.
and it's like, okay, here we go again. We're gonna go through the same beats again in this game.
So, question of the part: what is the worst example, your least favorite example of a kid in a movie, TV show, video game, anything like that? Obviously, a lot of people will go to Anakin in Episode 1, maybe the little kid in Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. Let us know. Let us know below.
I'm sick of all of this.
Well, remember that. I will say it's rare when they're used well. The first couple seasons of Stranger Things did like having like mostly child actors pretty well. It Part 1, the one made like 5 years ago, was also done pretty well. Although I think a couple of those characters were just Stranger Things people brought over for that.
It's a weird movie because I think the kids are more likable than the adults.
Yeah, and that's another rarity.
That is very rare. But, like, all the adults are, like, weird man-children that are obsessed with a girl, and, like, they just all suck, and they make no sense. And, like, they already, like, figured out how to defeat it when they were kids, and they're just like, I guess we forgot this traumatic event. Let's just do all the same mistakes again. I don't know. People like it because spooky clown scares me, but I think the second half sucks.
Yeah, I watched both of them, but
so I guess Sephiroth at this point is like actual like a real thing. I kind of forget how this works. I mean, Cloud fell off the bridge.
it's been a while since I played any FF7.
Oh right. Sephiroth is controlling the Sephiroth clones. You see a couple of them throughout the game. So. I mean, he is obviously still Sephiroth with the Masamune, but he is, like, controlling a Sephiroth clone right now. Like, the guys in the hoods with the, numbered tattoos on their arms.
Yeah, just like in the original.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I played FF7. Genova is an ancient, is a Cetra.
No, Genova's not a Cetra.
Genova's not a Cetra.
Yeah, it's just a random alien. And Sephiroth thinks it's an ancient.
Got it. And is Genova, like... Genova's alive and just kept in that tube?
Yes.
Okay.
Although, it seems like she has, Where am I going?
Don't you jump on those things?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Genova definitely has some powers, and, like, pieces of Genova can, like, gain sentience and, like... It's hard to tell exactly what's happening in the original game, but Genova is definitely a threat that you have to fight. It's not like hallucinations or whatever.
Yeah.
Although the Genova we're fighting in this chapter is very weird, and I can't exactly figure out what's going on there.
I understand the whole Sephiroth thing. Like, spoilers for a 25-year-old game, when he's like... When you find out that he's actually at in the live stream at the North Crater... and it for the game's logic, for the world's logic, it makes sense that he's like able to control these clones and blah blah blah, and you don't actually see him till the end of the game. Okay, I understand, but the Genova thing always like kind of confused me because I'm like, what is Genova?
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, Genova is not an ancient. Ares is the only ancient that's alive. Genova is literally just a parasitic like alien thing.
And Sephiroth thinks she's his mom because of, like, a Hojo lie or whatever.
Yeah. Where are the others?
Yeah, I mean, Sephiroth has Genova's cells in him, but her actual
That's
mother...
right. So they found this Genova weird thing, and then Hojo put the Genova cells into, like, Cloud and Sephiroth and all these.
That's why they have, like, super-duper powers.
Yeah.
The other regular soldiers are just infused with Mako. They don't necessarily have Genova in them. I forget, Zack definitely has Genova cells, but they explain in Crisis Core that he was not a suitable host and basically got zero benefit from the Genova cells.
Oh, that Crisis Core PS5, not remake, but whatever comes out very soon.
Yeah, I mean it's a remake, but it's a pretty low budget remake. It's the same game again, just with better graphics. Definitely worse graphics than the original PS4 like Final Fantasy VII Remake.
As Caleb Hart said when I was watching him the other day, "Are you gonna play Crisis Core?" People just kept asking him if he was gonna play Crisis Core, and he was like, "You gonna play Crisis Core? You gonna play Crisis Core?" So I do not think he's gonna play Crisis Core.
That's me.
I mean, Trevor literally played Crisis Core on this channel.
I'm not playing it just because I played it so recently. And if you want to figure out my thoughts about that game, it's not terrible. It's not good either.
Man, I remember when it was announced, it was like the coolest news I've ever heard. And then I found out the gameplay was so different that I literally, 20 years later, never played it. Or 15 years later.
Yeah, it's not a bad game, but all the weird fan fiction stuff is whatever.
Yeah.
Spencer already probably forgets, but like Genesis is like the least likable character ever, and like you're supposed to care about him somehow. It's like, no, I don't care about Genesis. I don't understand why
is
Zack.
He has like a wing or something.
He's the one with like reddish hair.
All I remember is there's someone who's like trying to have a wing, and then they have one wing. Or maybe I'm just thinking of something else, I don't know. But yeah, they're all pretty nothing burgers.
So one of the problems with this part is that some of these enemies are so annoying. Especially these moth units. Like, they're already, like, kind of annoying in the original game, but one of their things is that they have these blades that spin around them. So you can't get, like, close to it when it's, like, active, and it's only weak to magic, which is fine in normal mode, but in this game, because magic is such a precious resource, that it's either you do this super slow Barret and just do it like this, but, like, look how little damage he's doing. Like, these things just have so much HP.
You know, Zack and the stuff pre FF7 is one of those weird things where I think the original game doesn't give the Zack stuff enough attention, and the fact that like some of it is completely missable, like when you go to the basement in Nibelheim later in the game and you get to see how Zack died and whatever. Like, that should be something that you just see in-game, but the fact that they made a whole game to explain it is like, ugh.
Yeah, and
it's like too much.
It's obvious that there wasn't enough source material to work with, which is why they just invented Angeal in Genesis.
Yeah.
It's like, when you introduce new characters in a prequel, it's like, okay, what can you possibly do to make this story make sense? Either you retcon everything, which is horrible, or you introduce these characters and they just die or go away. It's like, okay, that's almost as bad.
I'm trying to think if there's any situations where they do that in a prequel, and then find a reasonable reason for them to go away, and then come back in a sequel. You know what I mean? Like, but it has to be like an actual reasonable reason. But yeah, I kind of like in RPGs especially being able to piece the puzzle together, you know? Like finding out... I kind of forget if it gets thrown in your face that Eris dated Zack, or if that's something that you just kind of find out when you go visit his family in Gongaga, which you don't even have to do. I honestly don't remember,
yeah,
but
I don't remember either. But...
I don't think you do. I don't think you ever have to do anything in Gongaga besides
I can't hear what you're saying.
fight Reno and Rude. Do you even have to go in there? You might not even have to go in there. But I know you don't have to visit Zach's mom or anything
No,
like that.
definitely not. I mean, you have to go through Gongaga, but you barely do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. You okay in there?
Oh, so I was learning some FF7 music earlier today on guitar, and special shout out to, I don't want to say it's an underappreciated track, but Cosmo Canyon. Oh boy, that's some music.
Cosmo Canyon has always been one of my favorite tracks in the entire soundtrack.
I feel like a lot of people give it credit, but I just want to give it a special credit here, because just it's so deep, and there's so many like, there's a lot of Native American tones in it, but without being like annoying or pretentious, you know? Because it's really easy to just make it like ridiculously Native American, but there's like the tones, but it still has its own unique feel. It's really good.
Cosmo Canyon in general, whenever I replay FF7, is one of my favorite parts. Even as like brutal as the dungeon you have to go through is, it's still a lot of fun because it's like one of the most like horror-y parts.
Yep. Well, considering how early it is in the game relatively, I usually think the Cave of Gi or G is usually the hardest part in the game, if not one of them. Although one of my favorite song to play on guitar is, it's called Descendant of Shinobi, aka Yuffie's theme, which I would be interested to see if when we get to the Yuffie part, if they use Yuffie's theme.
Thanks.
It's the one that goes do 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 do.
Roger that.
And on guitar, it's so fun because you get to play both the backing track and the normal track. Do they use that with her in this game so far?
I kind of don't remember a lot from Intergrade.
That's cool.
We'll get back.
I'm excited.
We'll get to it.
Do 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 do.
She doesn't show up at all in the regular game.
Yes, I do remember that. Do 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 do. Yo, I just need to go back to just playing FF7 soundtrack at the store.
He's been acting really weird lately, more than usual.
One of my favorite.
But it's Cloud. I'm sure he'll
One of my
be
favorite
You, Tifa.
experiences ever at the store was when some guy, unironically, like we were playing like video game music, like I don't know, an NES or SNES game on the soundtrack,
But it looks like
and
the
he was
door's
like,
locked.
"What the hell is this? Is that video game music?" Like not in like a "oh that's cool" way, and I was like, "Yeah, we're
I remember some mom was
we're
like,
a video game store."
yeah. One mom came in when we were playing like OSTs all the time. I was like, "How do you listen to this all day?" It's like,
we're a video game.
yeah, it's like I love video games.
I try not to make like there's
Yeah, I'm not like I didn't say anything like brutal. I was just
Yeah.
like, it's.
Well, there's also certain levels.
I love
like,
this type of music.
I wouldn't play a Game Boy soundtrack because, like, even like Pokemon Red and Blue would be very like grating on your ears. I try to play stuff that's like more music than not, but like put on Mega Man 2 or Castlevania 2 soundtrack, I don't care, dude. Like, there's something about it that just works. But yeah, I remember that guy was like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "It's video game music for a video game store." I like how every single one of
I
these,
don't think there's actually.
every single one of these pods is just like a friggin' human that Hojo got like full care to just do whatever the hell he wants
I'm
to.
pretty sure I'm not supposed to do this. I don't think there's a switch over there.
Now it's my turn.
Time to get serious.
Yeah.
I like how he just comes
There's
back
no
over.
control panel. We don't have the means to go this way.
Okay. I guess I switched off prematurely.
Use the PHS.
I do like how they kind of shoehorned the PHS into this game.
Well, I guess if you think about it, the fact that you can only use it at save points would make sense for it to be some sort of like machine, you know? Hi, Eris.
Eris? You good?
No.
Look! Now they can get across too.
Hey, Cloud, just go ahead and jump on these like
We should let Cloud know.
dead bodies of all this stuff that like Hojo. People are always saying like for Final Fantasy villains, they're like Kefka or Sephiroth. What about like Hojo or Hojo? Like holy crap.
Honestly, I think the only interesting thing about Kefka, I think he's such an overrated villain. The cool thing about Kefka is that he wins, basically.
Yes.
I mean, he causes the world of ruin by winning. But after that, it's like, he just becomes, like, generic god. And, like, the world of ruin, like, you don't do anything about him. It's, like, mostly just, like, dealing with getting all your party members back and how awful the world is now. But, like, Kefka is not an entertaining villain, because he's just, like, stuck up in the tower.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't see him again until the end, because
Yeah.
he's just doing his thing.
Final Fantasy 6 is, like, a very interesting game that got, like, mainstream appeal, but I think it's, like, one of the least conventional, like, RPGs ever made in terms of, like, mainstream success. Oh, great.
I would definitely go as far to say, now, it's kind of apples to oranges when you're talking about FF compared to other RPGs, but, like, even if you look at the Chrono series, both, what's the guy's name in Trigger? Magus? Both Magus and Lynx from Chrono Cross are, like, much more interesting than Kefka. And not every bad guy has to be a, like, I understand his rationale for doing this, you know? Like, sometimes it's okay for a bad guy not to be like Thanos, and for it to be like, he has a reason for wanting to destroy the world. Nice. But, I don't know, there's something about it. I do like when you can kind of side with them for some weird reason. So close. Yeah, that should be nice.
Yeah, the electrical discharge would take a ton of damage.
Who would have thought?
I hate blast rays. Even when I guarded that one attack, it took like 2 or 3k off a cloud.
Damn.
Wait a second. Weren't the girls right by the door to the third ward?
Thank you for telling me exactly what I have to do. Piece of garbage. Dude, God of War Ragnarok is filled with that. They don't let you breathe or think for 5 seconds without telling you exactly what to do.
Do you know what game did
It is so annoying.
Do you know what game did it the best? It's a mixture between old school, where the F do I go game, and new school, holding your hand, Dead Space, dude. You don't ever have to use that thing where it tells you on the ground which way to go. But if you get lost, you can just do it.
Yeah, and using the waypoint marker, whatever it's called, doesn't have an annoying sidekick being like, hey, Isaac, you should do this thing! Like your girlfriend's dead ghost telling you exactly what to do. I wouldn't be surprised if they added that in the remake. By the way, Dead Space game remake, I'm glad that's happening.
Do you think Isaac's girlfriend's gonna be like Navi? Hey!
I don't think
Isaac!
I don't think Dead Space 1 is like some masterful like horror game. In fact, the original game is very on the nose at times.